And we are back on the franchise with part 2 of the offseason, and we've got a lot of things to cover in this video, so we're going to dive right into it. If you take a look at the lower left-hand corner of the screen, you'll see one of the changes that I've already made. I'm moving Vic Beasley from the linebacker spot back to right end, so the experiment with Vic Beasley at linebacker in our base package is pretty much over and done with at this point, you guys. So that's going to create a need for a linebacker that can come in and play in our base 4-3 package, as well as one that can come in and play on our sub packages, because I'm just not sold on Duke Riley, you guys, and that's just me being honest. So an athletic outside linebacker is definitely a position of need for us, and I'll look to grab one here in free agency and possibly in the draft as well, but we'll see how it plays out. Now, as you're watching me scroll through the list of the top 100 players in free agency, you'll notice a couple of big names right off the bat that could probably come in and help us out. A player like Le'Veon Bell, for example. I know a lot of you guys saw his name early on, but I've already got Devontae Freeman and a ton of money already invested in the running back position, so we're just not going there. My objective here is to try to keep the free agency period as needs-based as possible. And the positions that I feel we need the most are defensive tackle, outside linebacker, tight end, free safety, right guard, and maybe a nickel corner. I also want to grab a fullback and possibly a slot wide receiver, but right now that's really not a pressing need. So as we continue to scroll through the different free agent options, right now I'm looking at fullbacks, and I'm not really seeing a lot there. I'm not going to pay a 32-year-old fullback. It's just not going to happen. So we're moving on to the next position. I did look at the wide receiver position briefly, but again, it's not really a pressing need at the moment, so we're not going to spend too much time there. But the tight end position, however, is definitely a position that we should take a longer look at. And in the process of doing that, I noticed that Trey Burton is available. Looking at his skill set, he's definitely the type of player that I could plug right into the system. He's got good speed, catching, average route running, nice acceleration. It was definitely something for me to think about, but I decided to go in a different direction because there is a player in the draft that piques my interest just a little bit more. Now, like I said earlier, defensive tackle is a position that's pretty high on our list of priorities. And looking at one of the top D tackles in this free agent class, Tim Jernigan just looks like he fits the part. He almost looks like a Grady Jarrett clone, as he's built similar to Jarrett. And his measurables look pretty nice as well, with 85 strength, 86 block shed, and with 84 power moves, he would definitely be a nice addition if we decide to go that route. Now, the next option in this D tackle class, and what I believe to be the better option for us, is Sharif Floyd. Sharif comes in at 311 pounds and has similar measurables to Jernigan. So I think we should really make a push to bring Sharif Floyd on board, because in my base defensive package, I really prefer running a 3-4, and Sharif Floyd will give me the option to make that happen. So we should definitely give him a contract offer. Now, at this point, I'm just doing my due diligence, checking out the pass rushers and seeing if there are any available, but the pool is pretty dry at the moment, so we may just be moving forward with Vic Beasley and Takk McKinley as our only pass rushers, which I'm totally fine with, by the way, because I believe both players could be special. But I'm a huge believer in the idea that you can never have enough good quality D linemen, especially those that can get after the quarterback. Now, moving over to the linebackers, I mentioned earlier that I'm looking for a guy that can come in and push Duke Riley for some snaps, and I believe I found a candidate here in Mark Barron with good speed, good hit power, nice pursuit and play rec, and he could come in pretty cheap, so that's definitely something to keep an eye on. So now that we've narrowed down our free agent target list, it's time to submit some contract offers. For Sharif Floyd, we're going to offer him a 4-year deal worth $40.2 mil. For Mark Barron, we're going to offer him a 3-year deal worth a little over $6. And I also decided to throw a 1-year offer to the best right guard in free agency in John Greco for 1 year, $4.33 mil. So these are all the players that I felt comfortable enough to offer contracts to, and as I advanced it into stage 2, you see they all agreed to terms. And I know the acquisitions weren't as flashy as they probably could have been, but we signed 2 solid starters at positions of need, so I'm definitely happy about that. Now, after the free agent signing of Sharif Floyd, Derek Shelby is all but expendable at this point, so I wanted to try to get something for him. I didn't want to just release him flat out, and the Jets were interested, so we ended up getting a deal done for Shelby in our 3rd, and they sent us the first pick of the 2nd round, number 33 overall. So we've got a bit more ammunition to play around with as we head into the draft. Looking at my draft board here, you see I've scouted a lot of guys. I'm not going to take the time to go through each one individually, but I wanted you guys to get an overall glimpse of the positions that I thought were important enough for us to address this offseason. Now, this year's draft class featured a couple of really interesting prospects, one being left outside linebacker Harris Cockrell out of Texas, and he's projected to go in the top 3 picks, and you can see why. Just take a look at his combine report. His measurables are just off the charts. He's going to be a nice player. The next prospect expected to go pretty early in the draft is left outside linebacker Kona Ramsauer. He's not the athletic freak that Cockrell is, but he's going to make a nice addition to someone's defense with a top 5 pick. Niall Reese is another prospect that should come off the board pretty early. The 6'1", 208-pound strong safety from Georgia is known to be a big hitter, and looking at his skill set, it instantly makes me think of a faster version of Keanu Neal. That's just scary. But those are just a few of the elite guys that are coming off the board pretty early. But now we'll take a look at some of the players that could still be on the board when I pick in the early 20s. Starting with Denman, right outside linebacker from Wisconsin. What is there not to like? He's got the measurables I'm looking for. Plus, he ran the second fastest 40 time among right outside linebackers, but I really don't expect him to fall to the 20s, but if he's there, we could definitely pull the trigger. Now, this next prospect, Mustafa Sky out of UCLA, he's projected to go in the early second round, but he's a mid-first round talent. Some of you guys already know what I'm thinking here, and for those that don't, I'm thinking if we add 10 pounds on him, Mustafa Sky turns into our version of Earl Thomas. How crazy would that be? I mean, we already got our version of Cam Chancellor and Keanu Neal. If Scott's available when we pick in the early 20s, I wouldn't have any issues picking him up with that selection. Another option for us to consider late in the first round could be John Edwards out of Clemson. Now, the first thing that popped into my head, and Falcons fans will probably laugh at this, but when I saw John Edwards defensive end, the first thought I had was Ray Edwards. And you guys already know we're staying away from any Edwards at the defensive end position altogether. So even though John's probably going to be a good player, I just can't go there. Now, like I mentioned earlier during free agency when I took the needs-based approach to it, I'm going to do the same thing for the draft. This is going to be a needs-based draft. And outside of Austin Hooper, we got nobody to play tight end, so we definitely have to pick one up, and Curry Blackman could be the guy. Now, the next player that I scouted that I have no intent on drafting whatsoever is Joey Mays out of Tennessee. Just look at this guy's measurables. He's going to be a monster out there. But for the same reasons that I didn't pick up Le'Veon Bell in free agency, Joey Mays is just going to have to go to another team and be great. Now, before we get into the draft, there's a couple more players that I want to show you. I kind of feel like this thing is starting to drag on a little bit, so I'll get to the point. I decided to target Reggie Dawson right around the time Dontari Poe asked for $30 million for 3 years or something like that. But even after signing Floyd in free agency, Dawson stayed on my draft board because it seemed like out of nowhere, the analysts just started raving about him. So if I'm sitting around late in the second round wondering what to do with my pick, Dawson could be the guy there. Now, the last player that I'm going to show you is a guy that I've been scouting since about week 6 or week 7, and that's Kendall Riley out of UCLA. He's 6'2", 250, and he just obliterated the combine. I mean, he plays top 2 in just about every category possible. And if you guys have ever seen the movie Draft Day, the general manager played by Kevin Costner wrote down on a post-it note to draft that linebacker no matter what. Well, that's what I did for Kendall Riley. I have to get Riley no matter what, somehow, some way. I don't expect him to be sitting there late in the 4th round when I pick. And remember, earlier in free agency, I traded away my 3rd round pick as well. So I'm going to have to get creative and trade into the early 4th round or maybe into the late 3rd round to make that pick. But we'll see how it all goes down as we're ready for the Jets to make the first pick to kick off the NFL draft. And just like clockwork, to go with the pass rusher out of Texas, Harris Cockrell, the Niners get their strong safety in Niall Reese, the Cardinals pick up a left tackle, and then pass rushers are picked up back-to-back. Kennedy goes to the Bills, and Ramsauer goes to the Ravens. So now we sim ahead a bit and the Falcons are on the clock, and there's really no reason to overthink it at this point. We stay true to our draft board and go with Mustafa Sky, defensive back out of UCLA. And I'm really liking the pick. He's got 92 speed, 81 man, 82 zone, 95 excel, and like I said pre-draft, I think he's going to make a pretty nice free safety, and I'm sticking to it. Now for our next pick, we've got the first pick in the 2nd round from the Derek Shelby trade, and you guys can already see I'm thinking about pulling the trigger here for Kendall Riley. I know he's projected to go much later in the draft, but this is how highly I think of him. But instead I decide to stick to the plan and trust my draft board and go with Curry Blackman here with the first pick of the 2nd round, and it's an okay pick. I mean, he's ranked 33rd overall in talent, and we drafted him at 33 overall, so I guess we got him where he's supposed to go. But honestly, I'm a little disappointed. For a guy that's a borderline 1st round draft pick, I expected a little bit more than a 78 overall. So I guess we'll take that L as we move on to our next pick in the 2nd round. I'm considering addressing our slot wide receiver position with Wiley from Georgia. He's 5'11" and runs a 4.4 240, and he's got a pretty decent skill set to go along with that. But again, in staying true to the process and trusting my draft board, you just saw that Reggie Dawson was the highest ranked player that I had available on my board, so the decision pretty much makes itself, and it pays off in a huge way. Reggie Dawson is the 5th ranked player in true talent, and we got him at 55. He's 81 overall with superstar development, 92 strength, 81 block shed, 83 power moves. He is just a monster ready to wreak havoc once he gets on the field. So now we move ahead late into the 3rd round, and I start thinking that now would be a good time to try to trade in so I can take Riley. And I'm a little nervous at this point, you guys, because about 5 or 6 picks earlier, there was a mini run on middle linebackers. I kid you not, there were at least 4 linebackers that were taken within 6 or 7 picks. Like, it was pretty ridiculous, you guys. So at pick number 26 in the 3rd round, I got the Green Bay Packers on the phone to see if they wanted to make a move, and we were able to get a deal done. Even though I had to give up my 3rd for next year and 4th this year, we were able to get the 26th pick in the 3rd round. You guys already know what's about to happen. Kendall Riley, the middle linebacker from UCLA, is coming home, and it's a great pick. Riley is ranked 26th in true talent, and we got him at 90. He's 79 overall with superstar development, 85 speed, 85 tackle, 86 block shedding, 92 hit power. This man is going to be knocking people's heads clean off. I can't wait to get him on the field. Now, as the draft winds down, I decided to take a backup center because right now I have nobody playing behind Alex Mack, so I picked up Eric Clear out of Northern Illinois, and then my last 2 picks are pretty much coin flips at this point, but overall I think I did a pretty decent job at addressing some of the holes in our defense, because after that Carolina game, you guys, I'm telling you, I was really upset. It was almost like the defense just gave up and let Carolina run all over them. That was just embarrassing. So hopefully with these new acquisitions, we'll never see a game like that again. But anyways, you guys, as we get ready to wrap things up, I'm curious to get your thoughts on how you think free agency and the draft went. And also, if I do decide to trade Tevin Coleman, who are some wide receivers that you like for me to target? Go on ahead and drop me a comment down below. Anyways, you guys, I'm up against it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I'm signing off, and I'll see you in the next one.